setup where point A provides a high ground and an overview of the map.
All right, we are on board with the blue team here. The blue team is,
the blue team are the defenders, so they're the ones who are trying to hold their sanctuary and oppress the attacking team.
And so for our purposes here, that's Team Knight in the blue, and they've come out early capturing C. But here we see the front. The battle's happening there.
Yep, so you mentioned the front. Key to the front is a type of hero that you choose to go into battle with. There you see it. So certain heroes have a preference due to their range and their weapon to be in the front. You know, it's like fighting a lot of little soldiers. One-on-one, they won't do much, but a group of 10 one-year-olds can really do some damage after a while.
All right, it looks like this Raider knows a thing or two.
So here we have a 2-on-1, but those of you may have noticed that there's environmental hazards that you can use to your advantage to try to help yourself in an outnumbered situation.
Just ran by one of my favorites there, the spike wall.
So there's an example of the Raider stun. What that does is it takes almost all of the HUD or the UI off of your opponent's screen, making it harder for them to read which direction you're going to be attacking from. Here you can see another example of the environment being a threat. In this specific zone, the trapdoor is open throughout the battle, making it more and more dangerous to be in this zone. But at the same time, we want you to be there for points.
We had quite a fight there, and now the Raiders just popped a revenge.
So there we see the importance of the execution. That enemy can no longer be revived and has to wait out the respawn time, putting his team at a disadvantage.
Team Knight with a staunch defense of point C, but Team Samurai with the point lead currently.
Yeah, so right now, all three capture zones are in play. As you can see, there's only about 100 points difference. One of the keys to being a hero is that all-out offense often isn't the best way to proceed. Sometimes defense can be your best key to a productive offense.
Ooh, there's that spike wall.
Yeah, so somebody was taken into the spikes by a heavy attack. You really have to be aware of your surroundings.
That was a nice kill by defender number 4.
So here we can see one of the defenders, the Raider, going to capture point A. Point A only has 2 paths to which it can be approached. Both of the bridges, and it also gives you the high ground to assess the front and the status of Zone C, giving updates and feedback to your teammate throughout the match. So as you can see, Team Samurai still have about 150 point buffer, but that can easily change when 1 or 2 capture zones come into play.
And there we see it happen right now. The capture zone switches, and now Team Knight has a slight point advantage, holding down 2 points.
Yeah, so we have 2 capture zones fully controlled with point C in flux. So communication on both sides should be to support friendlies at C, but there it goes back to the attacker.
There we see Fairlight Excalibur, man versus game, and munition, and Cobalt Streak on Team Samurai, currently trailing. And we've got a hot pursuit in action.
Yeah, that happens often, and that's a key to melee-based combat. It's all about range, reading spaces in the environment, and taking advantage of your character, not just their weapons, but their movement abilities. Dodging, evading, blocking, and attacking.
Nice kill there by Team Samurai and munition.
So here is a spectator cam. This player can move around the map and give feedback to their team while they're waiting to respawn.
Ooh, Gassy Mexican with a nice throw there.
If Gassy Mexican was smart, he'd get closer to the fire and try to use the environment to his advantage. Fire, spikes, drops, anything in the game world that looks dangerous, to the most part it is. So another thing that I wanted to point out, you'll see in the bottom left hand of the screen right now with this raider in particular, we've got a skull with soldiers in front of it. This is a feat, and you gain feats by increasing your renown, by doing certain play styles and certain elements during a match. So right now this raider gets double the reward for killing soldiers. That puts the emphasis on going to the front and taking advantage of the feat and the character loadout.
We saw one of those feats in the Dominion breakdown video we watched earlier, and now a lopsided fight does not go Team Samurai's way, and a brutal decapitation by Team Knight.
So we had almost all 4 of the defenders in the lane, in the front, clearing it out, and now they've got pretty much all 3 points. So they're 170 points away from putting the attackers into breaking. So as you can see with the Raiders' unbridled rage, he's got no concern about defense. He's on the all-out offense, swinging that axe and taking Fool's Gap.
And the blue team very close to pushing over that 1,000 point barrier and pushing the orange team into breaking.
So here we can see that the attackers have left A uncontested, meaning it's an easy capture for the defenders, and then they can move. Oh, spoke a little too soon. So here we see a 2-on-1 fight. This is where space and environment gets key. A lot of our community feedback was, hey, it's really hard for us to work in an outnumbered environment, and as you can see there, it is easy to be killed, but we've been working really hard to implement features to support outnumbered fights. We'll talk about those in the preceding matches.
There are some ways to tip the scales, but then there are also sometimes you end up with a sword in your shoulder blade.
So here we have Zone A being boosted. Not only do they have 100 points from it, they take over an extra 2 points a second to stay with their team and help them meet the 1,000-point threshold to push the enemies into breaking.
That was Tangent Gaming holding down that elevated point over there. Now we'll switch back over and see a nice kill there by Team Knight and Co-Carnage.
So here you'll see the feedback on screen. That cross meant if there wasn't a threat to the attacker, they could stop and revive a friendly, bring them right back into battle, and skip the respawn time.
Could have used another buddy right about then, but he's making his escape.
They're never there when you need them, eh? So you can see here, everything revolves around the art of battle. That is the stance in which your hero is in. It depicts where you block and where you attack. But here we have our first round of breaking.
And Team Samurai pushing back to capture that point.
The attackers need to be smart here. If they lose capture zone C, all of the attackers will respawn. However, none of them are dead, so it's not a risk at this time.
We just caught a glimpse there of this big battering ram that's on the field starting to swing, really just adding to the whole ambiance of this battle.
Yeah, well, that's it, man. It's based around a siege, and a siege isn't just killing the enemy forces or opposing forces. It's about breaching their sanctuary, their place of safety.
Got a fierce 2-on-2 here.
So this is where collaboration is key. You go 2-on-1 and get attacked from behind. So here we have double breaking. Both teams are above the 1,000-point threshold. And now we can see it's a 4-on-2. If the defenders can hold all their zones and finish out the last 2 attackers, this match will be theirs to win. So now it's an all-out manhunt.
Is that the last remaining member of Team Samurai running around there?
Oh, he's going to go.
Going for the revive!
So this is where communication is key. All 4 of them chasing the target isn't a good idea. You got to think about the setup and the space and find a way to cut them off and really get them in the corner. There you go. Here comes some strategy. Obviously, we're going for the revive here. You can see some panicked faces behind us, some shouting.
Looks like that's Lil Renene frantically trying to stay alive. She's got the entirety of the enemy team after her.
And there you have it.
And here we are on the Viking homeland, it seems.
Yeah, here we have Riverfort, the Viking homeland of Valkenheim. It's snowy, it's brute, it's raw. They work with the landscape and they make what they need to meet their needs, and that's about it. So here we have a similar setup to Overwatch, where we can see Zone A looks out over the entire map. Controlling this zone can really give you the upper hand in controlling the battle.
Again, for those of you watching at home, to keep track of which color is which, just flip those names. And we got a roar from the crowd here after that. Ring out.
Yeah, so there we had a Raider use his throw ability to straight away take an enemy out of the capture zone and then go support a friendly and win the duel. This map is very much about using nature, so you'll see a lot of drops, a lot of ledges, and you really need to pay attention to the environment.
And that brutal execution was the handiwork of Fairlight Excalibur, working those stuns and working that unblockable combo.
Yeah, it's very much the key to that character. The unblockable combo, while it's not unblockable, it can be dodged, but at the same time, you need to be aware of what's around you and who's around you. Are you able to dodge? Where should you dodge? Is it making it riskier for you dodging close to a ledge? Should you just take the hit and focus on the defense? So we spoke before about feats. So all of the Vanguards, while they're tied to a faction and they're unique in their own way, Vanguards in general have three main kind of preferences to allow you to level up your renown and unlock your feats. And those are, in a nutshell, getting capture zones, getting to a zone and capturing it for your team. That'll give you renown points. There's also killing soldiers and reviving friendly. So keeping a thought or an eye on those three things will help you level up, gain renown, and have your feats to make a difference in the battle.
And we've got a lot of the teams gathered here on point A, battling it out. Still early in the match, so we're not seeing those level 2, level 3 feats yet, but certainly people making progress towards bringing those extra abilities into the fray.
Yeah, and another thing that we really haven't spoken about too much, but we just saw it there, is the need to control your stamina. The green bar underneath your health is your stamina. It tells you how much gas you have in the tank. If you're constantly dodging, you're going to run out of breath and be a really easy opponent to take out. Not only does stamina affect your mobility, it also means you're unable to put any chains together, which makes you much weaker as an offensive force.
Nice kill there by Tangent Gaming.
So overall, we haven't really been talking too much about the heroes, but throughout all three matches so far, we've had a good spread, Chris. We've had the Warden, both male and female. We've had the Raider and the Kensei. And I haven't noticed too much of a strategy yet with their loadouts, but we'll see how this game plays out, and maybe it'll affect how they play match 4 if we make it to that point. But right now, it's looking pretty good.
It looks like Team Knight has all 3 points captured. Again, just switch those colors, folks, and you'll be in tune with the action here.
So you can see right now the Raider, the first feat is a passive feat, meaning it's always active. Every soldier he kills gives him a health buff, but it also helps him gain further renown. So he's unlocked a morale booster, the second feat. The third is Berserker, and he's well on the way to the 4th feat. So on the flip side of that, here we have the Knight, also working in the lane, because killing soldiers is a good way to increase your renown.
That pick up and carry move just does not get old. I love it.
Yeah, so here we have the opportunity to use high ground to take out the attacker in the capture zone, but I guess it wasn't needed.
It's that medieval chiropractor.
a Nodashi down the spine will kind of take care of you.
You'll be aligned all right.
So here we have it again. You can see two attackers not on a capture zone and focusing a 2-on-1, but that didn't work to their advantage. Now it's flipped completely into a 2-on-1 in their disadvantage. So you really have to work to prioritize your threats. Last but not least, it's objective based. The capture zones are key to winning the round. So we're pretty much back at honors even, so let's see how this plays out with 400 points, give or take, to put the other team into breaking.
This is one of those perilous points where you do have the chance to get knocked to a lower ground and then hit from above. You do have the chance to get thrown off the ledge, or you have the chance to just get a good old-fashioned 2-on-1.
Yeah, sometimes the sword's the best way to go, man. So here's a view of the map from the attacker side. Obviously, they're starting from outside of the sanctuary. They've reached the first gate, but they're still really trying to make it into the courtyard and the main structure of this Viking facility. Oh, he was so close, but just not close enough, Chris.
Kensei is going to make a nice saving roll to get back into more solid ground. Got to work that block, though, because that big Viking axe coming down.
So now if this Raider waits out his time, he can capture the zone and use this zone to regen his health and not die. Stay in the battle and work with his teammates.
Oh! Sent to the bottom.
The extra health really made no difference there, Chris. So here you can see three attackers. They're very much deciding to work as a group. Whether it works out point-wise, we'll wait and see. Right now they have two of the capture zones, but A is in flux and could quickly change.
Looks like we were going to maybe see an execution there, but now we are involved in a fierce battle here. And we see that the Raider attacking has all 4 feats at the ready.
Yeah, and here we see, oh, the Kensei had feats.
Didn't need the feats to put him onto the spikes, though.
So I don't want to sound like I'm repeating a lot, but Emil came out and we spoke about working with the community. One thing is now when you die, you do not lose your renown or your feats. So even if you aren't the best player on your team, by the end of the match, you could have full renown and have that level 4 feat to really make a difference. We really want it to be a balanced playing field. So here we have it. For the first time, the attackers have put the defenders into breaking. Can they hold it off? This attacker actually has a 4th level feat, which is a healing banner, which he can place and heal any of his friendlies within a certain radius.
One can easily see how that would change the tide of an engagement. Let's see if we see it in action.
Okay, so we've got 2 duels going on at A. And it's gone from 3-on-2 to 2-on-1 by the looks of all the crosses on the screen.
It's the blue team.
Yeah.
Team Samurai trying to rally back. Looks like we've got Cobalt Streak there as the Raider. Ooh. And the orange Team Knight goes down. The defenders rally.
Yeah, so the defenders rallied there, but they're quickly back in breaking because instead of focusing on the capture zones, while they had the hero advantage, they all honed in on one hero, meaning that they didn't take those soft points back and bring them back on their side. Capture zones are all about soft points. Once you have them, you have to retain them. Otherwise, they're always in play. There we see it. So we have double breaking, but it's a 4-on-2. And all the soft points are still in play because they're only 50 to 20 points above the 1,000-point threshold, Chris.
So that certainly sifted the fate for Team Orange, no longer breaking, but the blue team.
Team Orange heeded the advice. They saw that there was a capture zone not being contested, and they went and took it. Now essentially there's no choice. Well played. There's no choice for the defenders to go out of breaking because there's only 300 points, soft points in play, and even if they lose them, they're still above a 1,000-point threshold.
And this is the blue team. Team Samurai on the ropes. Looks like Fairlight Excalibur, the last remaining samurai, trying to make a run here, trying to stay alive.
There's a
We
death
almost
from
saw the
above
death from
advantage.
above.
But there you see communication, Chris. They took all 4 escape points and really tried to tie him down.
They are running him down. Everyone chasing him up the ladder, but he came back down and knocked one of them to the ground. He's on the point. He's on the ropes.
Oh, so there you have it.
And there it is. Looks like all those cheers did.
Another point, even though there's 4-on-1, communication was still key. So here we go for match 2. So here we have the Warden going right into the front. This is almost a bread and butter for this character. He can take out a lot of soldiers and really push his team to win the front off the bat. Oh, what a dodge. Well played, but you didn't get far enough. So here you can see the soldiers do play in the battle and they make a big difference in the fights. You can use them as a navigation tool or deterrent against the enemies. Here we have a 2-on-2 in Zone C. This is the zone closest to the attacker's spawn. So if the defenders take this, they're really going on the offensive and saying, we're going to win this battle.
All right, just a quick clarification for those of you folks watching at home. We've actually got Team Samurai, the victors of the first match, in orange this time around. They're the attackers. They're in blue this time around. It says orange on the screen. They're actually blue. And Team Knight are the defenders in orange. And defenders in blue.
See, so there we had a Raider trying to run.
Just confused everything even more. Let me just iron it out, Jeff. Team Samurai is blue. Team Knight is orange.
We'll go with that. Team Knight is the blue, and Team Samurai are the orange.
I peeked at their screens, and these guys are playing on the blue side.
Either way, we'll go with attacker defender. So here we have it. The defenders are currently winning the battle.
And they've got those 2 points. And now we watch a Raider trying to make a move on one of those points.
So while we watch these guys get used to the art of battle and the intricacies of each hero, those of you out at home watching with a keen eye will notice this is no longer a samurai map. Here we are in one of the Knight maps. You'll notice a difference right away. The infrastructure, the size, the epic structures that they build, and the setup of the map is completely different.
And we're gonna see Team Blue going for those revives, having another player right back on the field with you. As anyone who's played a multiplayer competitive game with reviving knows, so powerful.
Yeah, man, the ability to skip respawn really helps you make a difference. But on the flip side of that, we wanted a way for you to ensure that that couldn't happen and that a hero that you fell has to sit through the respawn. That's where execution becomes important. Because both on revive and on the execution, you're initiating an animation that leaves you open to attack. So you really have to consider whether you want to follow through. Executing an enemy not only means they have to respawn, they take on a penalty, and it gives you a health buff or a health regen. So there's a benefit and a cost to everything.
The crowd really seems to like that knock him to the ground, knee him in the face move.
Yeah, the stun definitely has, its benefits, but when you're in a group fight, do you really want to initiate that, or do you want to use the space and wait for support? So here we have a female Raider doing her part in the lane, clearing through the soldiers, really working to push each front on behalf of the defenders. So that's key. All three of these heroes that we're seeing today are Vanguard, as I said, kind of like the all-rounders. And all three heroes in all three factions are available in the male and female loadout variety. So you can really choose a hero and customize it to who you want to be in the battlefield.
And even here we see two male raiders facing off, but they've got a different look to them. There is deep customization in terms of what your character's armor looks like, what sort of coloration and patterns you've got on there, the works.
Yeah, we work really hard. Our art director does a lot of work in ensuring that there's visual variety. As you can see, there's a decapitation. But the thing with the visual loadouts is that really you can make yourself prominent. So when the opposing team sees you coming, they know what they're in for. They can run and hide, group up, or really try to step up and take you one-on-one. So there is an example of the Kensai level 3 feat, the smoke bomb. That is a tool that allows you to evade outnumber fights or really just blur the battlefield for the opponent. See, so the Kensei right now is going into a part of the map that is narrow, that'll limit his opponents to attacking front on, keeping it one-on-one, even though he's outnumbered in a 3-on-1 fight.
Saw a little collision there on the ladder. The ladders are not, you know, they are part of the battleground. You know, just because you're on a ladder doesn't mean someone's not coming to get you.
No, that is true. Ladders often provide alternate routes to high ground, but one of the keys to being around high ground and ledges are not only can you be thrown off the ledges, but enemies can attack from above, giving them a single hit kill, or as we like to call it, death from above. So you always have to be aware of your surroundings, both immediately, but also vertically.
Here we see the blue team, Team Samurai, pushing that center point, claiming the front.
And as you mentioned before in the last map, this is similar in Dominion mode. You're trying to breach or save your sanctuary, so we have the battering ram in the middle of the front. So here we can see that the attacker's zone capture zone C, so while they sit in the zone, they get a health regen. It really pushes the idea of strategy and communication. We didn't want a roving horde of 4 heroes being able to win a match, so we strongly listened to the community feedback and came up with tweaks that would promote communication and collaboration on the battlefield, leveraging the spaces in the area.
Looks like this raider has activated one of his feats just as the team goes into breaking.
Yep, so here we go. It looks like they'll be able to rally immediately if they can capture Zone C, but it's all about not just capturing zones, but holding them, so you keep those points out of play. Zones A, B, and C are all worth 100 points when they belong to your team, but as soon as you lose them, the points go to the other team. So those are what we've coined as soft points. They're yours while you have the zone, but they can always be taken away. As opposed to hard points. Hard points are earned by killing heroes or boosting capture zones. Those points can never be taken away from your team. So here we are once again in breaking.
And once again, Team Samurai actually in blue this round, pushing Team Knight onto the ropes.
Yeah, and now we saw an execution, so that friendly cannot be revived unless the attackers can rally out of breaking. They are looking pretty close though. Although if they lose Zone A, it's looking pretty close to being done. So here we can see the 3 feats that this raider has gained. The third one is what we like to call internally Berserker. It gives you a speed and an offensive buff, because he's not the fastest of heroes, but with this feat, he really becomes a formidable opponent. So the attackers are definitely doing their part to win the points back, but here we go, using the soldiers as an advantage and using his feet.
He's got his back to the fire and is he gonna catch on fire?
Oh, here's another community feedback option. We listen to the community, and outnumber fights were almost near impossible to win. So this is what we call revenge mode. It makes your attacks uninterruptible, and it gives you an offensive and defensive buff. But sometimes it's just not enough, Chris.
Certainly not, and now we've got 1 attacker left.
And it's pretty easy to see by the faces who it is. It's a team captain on the attacker team. So here we go. There's a couple of options for the defenders. If they see enemies that are felled, they can protect the bodies to prevent revive. There was a sprint attack that ended it, Chris.
There it is, and that is another win for Team Samurai.
So as the defenders won, they're now burning the battering ram.
Every army needs warriors whose specialty is victory. Kensei, sword saints, the guardians of our people. Every great ruler since the fall has trained as a sword saint. Every one. And they are formidable. The Nodachi was long thought to be too large for use in real war. They proved them wrong. Their armor is the strongest of our people. As is their will.
The Wardens, members of an ancient order, fallen into dust. Sworn to defend the weak, masters of the longsword. Their origins lost to history. Still, they fight for what is right. Driven by duty. Devoted to their people. But only a few may join their order.
Sometimes, a Viking is born who carries the spark of gods. Raiders, we call them. It is a name that can summon armies. Ruthless, fearless, made for battle. The Dane axe was the mightiest weapon of our ancestors. They wield it without mercy. The moment of a Viking's death is chosen by fate. So what use have they of armor? Or